Hello and welcome to this video all about my gaming backlog. Now, the idea of some kind of game backlog is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because when you think back to being a kid, you only had a select few games that you could play, and you probably played them on repeat and probably fully completed them too. But nowadays, when you're a bit older and games have become more mainstream, so there's kind of more of them, they're easier to get hold of, you end up with quite a large selection of games if you're anything like me anyway. And sometimes this ends up in a situation where you buy games meaning to play them, but then you just for some reason never get around to it. And this video is going to be dedicated to all of those games in my collection that I've not yet got around to playing, that I've owned for quite a while, as well as some of the newer games that I've just not got around to playing yet as well. So something that I think would be interesting as well is for you to leave a comment down below letting me know what's in your gaming backlog, and maybe we can tackle some of the games in there together. The way that I'm going to be tackling this backlog, I think, is by streaming a little bit more. I have been doing it a little bit more recently over on Twitch. I've played Super Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion 3, which are two of the games that were in my backlog. But yeah, I think that's been helping me to get through some of these games, and I plan on keeping that up. But anyway, jumping into some of the games now, I've separated it into three categories: the older games in my collection that I've not played, the newer ones, and the ones that I plan on playing for a review of some kind. So let's get started by taking a look at the older games. So the first older game in my collection that I've not played yet is the original Silent Hill on the PS1. So this is probably the last remaining sort of main PS1 game that I've never played. I don't know why I've never played it, because the Silent Hill series is definitely right up my alley, being like a psychological horror game. And I have played some of the later entries in the series, but for some reason I've just never played the original. Which is weird because I'm a big fan of the PS1, so you definitely would have thought I would have played this at some point, but no, literally never played it. I've never actually finished any of the Silent Hill games. I've played quite a bit of Silent Hill 2, but just never quite reached the end. And a couple of the later ones I've given a little bit of a go as well, Silent Hill 4 being the main one. But yeah, never finished that either. So yeah, I think this would be a good place for me to start properly getting into the Silent Hill series, and could be a good place for me to start actually finishing them too. The next game in my backlog is a bit of a weird one, because this is a game that I've actually owned since I was a kid, and yet for some reason I just never gave it a chance, despite being a fan of the series that it's from. So this game is Evil Dead Hail to the King for the PS1. And like I say, I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead films and the recent TV show as well. So I don't know why I've never played this. I've never played any of the Evil Dead games, but this is the only one that I've ever owned. With me being so into the PS1, like I said earlier, you would have thought I would have played this, but for some reason I've just never given it a chance. It is supposed to be really bad, but obviously when I was a kid I didn't know that. So I don't know, maybe I just sensed it was bad and never played it or something, who knows. But yeah, definitely want to give this a shot at some point. Even if I don't finish it, it would be nice to have at least given it a chance. So the next set of games are a little bit newer, but probably still considered old games at this point, and that is the Max Payne trilogy. I've got all three of them here, and I have actually played the first Max Payne, but I just didn't finish it, and it didn't quite grab me like I thought it was going to, so I never ended up playing Max Payne 2 or 3. I probably should though, because I hear that Max Payne 3 in particular is really good, and I hear that Max Payne 2 is quite a substantial improvement from the first one as well. So I really should finish off Max Payne 1 and then get on to the others. But yeah, I don't know what it was about it that stopped me from playing it. It was a long time ago that I gave it a chance now. I actually got all three of these at the same time for really cheap from CEX, just thinking that I would blast through them, but that never happened. So yeah, another set of games here that I really should probably try out because they're pretty iconic games of their eras. Sticking with a PS3 game, this is another game that I'm really surprised I've never given a chance because I'm a fan of the series it's from. So it's Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, and also all of the future games that are in the same sort of series as this one. Basically all of the Ratchet and Clank PS3 games. I've never played any of them. Again, this is weird because I'm a really big fan of the PS2 Ratchet and Clank games, especially the first one. I think that's easily the best. But yeah, never got around to playing the PS3 games despite hearing that they're really good and some of the best in the series. So this is another one that I will potentially do on stream, because I think that would be quite fun to go through with me never having experienced it before. And it's definitely the sort of game that would be fun to watch, I think, with it being like an action platformer with shooting elements. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to giving this a shot at some point, and it'll probably end up with me buying all of the other Ratchet and Clank games as well. The last game that I would consider one of the older games is this one for the Wii. It's The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. This is the only 3D Zelda game that I've never played. I've finished all of the others and really like every single one of them. But for some reason I've just never played this. I got it a few years ago as a present, but never even stuck it into the Wii or Wii U to give it a shot. I even got a Wii Motion Plus controller to play this specifically, but never got around to it. I don't know why. I hear quite divided things on it. Some people seem to hate it and some people seem to love it. But I think the biggest reason for that is because it implements quite heavy motion controls, and I know a lot of people don't like that. I don't mind it so long as it's well implemented, and I hear that it is quite good in this game. So yeah, this is definitely another one that I want to try out soon. So the next category of my backlog I want to talk about are the more modern games that I've probably picked up more recently and just for some reason haven't had the time to get to them yet. But there's actually quite a lot of them. I try to keep my backlog as small as possible because I don't want to just buy games with the intention of never playing them, because I think that that's a little bit silly. If I own a game, I want it to be something that I have some sort of actual attachment to because I've played it. But yeah, the first game that's in this category is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze for the Switch. I never played the Wii U version of this either, so I'm going into it completely fresh as if it was a brand new game. And yeah, again, I don't know why I've not played this. I hear that it's really good. I hear that it's actually one of the best 2D platformers on the Switch. So yeah, definitely want to give this a shot. This is actually my girlfriend's game, but she hasn't really played much of it either, so yeah, I don't know why I've not gotten around to it yet. It's not like she's hogging it or anything, so I should definitely give it a go. Then we move on to another series of games, and yet another one that I'm surprised I've never played. Well, I say I've never played them, I have actually played the first level of one of them, but never got further than that, so I still kind of consider me as not having played it. And that is the two Ukulele games, Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. Now, from what I have played of the first Ukulele, like I say, I actually really like it. But I originally played it on the PS4, and now I've got the Switch version. I'm gonna need to start again. And I think that's kind of what's been putting me off of continuing it, just doing the first level again. And I played it not too long ago, so that first level is still fresh in my mind. So I guess what I'm thinking is that I'm wanting to leave it a little bit before playing it again. But these are two games actually that I have been considering doing a video on. So definitely let me know in the comments section if you would be interested in seeing videos on these two games, because that might spur me on to do it a bit faster. Very similar to the last two games, another one I've not played is New Super Lucky's Tale. This is another one that's technically my girlfriend's game, but she's actually 100%'d it, so now there's nothing stopping me from giving it a go. Didn't get this too long ago, it was a Christmas present for my girlfriend, so it's only really been in my collection for around 3 months now, getting on 4 months I guess. So yeah, definitely going to play this at some point soon. Just like with Ukulele, this is another one I have been contemplating making a video on. I guess it just depends on if people would be interested in that. This next one is another Christmas present, but this time it was a present for me, and it is Bubble Bobble 4 Friends. I never know how to say this one. Is it Bubble Bobble 4 : Friends, or is it Bubble Bobble 4 Friends? I'm not sure, I don't know how you pronounce it, and I'm sure nobody out there knows for sure either. But yeah, anyway, this is the newest installment in the Bubble Bobble series. A series that I'm particularly passionate about. I just really like the first game, and I know that the arcade version of the first game is included in this. So even if the new game isn't particularly good, at least you've got that, I guess. So yeah, I've played this a little tiny bit, but I really want to finish it, and potentially do a video on it too. I'm noticing a pattern with a lot of these games where it's a game in a series and I've played like the first one or the first ones but then just never gotten around to the sequels, and this next game is exactly the same. It's Life is Strange Before the Storm. I actually really liked the first Life is Strange game. I think it's the best game in that style, you know, the thing that's where it's like similar to like Heavy Rain, the sort of narrative-driven, quick-time, heavy, like decision-based games. Yeah, Life is Strange 1, easily the best game of that style that I've played. So I don't know why I've not played this one. It's a prequel to the first Life is Strange, featuring some of the same characters and stuff, and it's set in the same town. So yeah, don't know why I've not got around to this. I almost feel like I've left it so long now that I would need to play the first Life is Strange to get reintroduced to that game's world before playing this one. So yeah, that would be quite a big commitment if I was to do that, but that's kind of what I would want to do. The next game is the only VR game in my collection that I've not played, and it was actually one of the big VR titles released last year, and it's Blood and Truth. I've actually been looking forward to this game coming out for ages because I thought it looked really good from the trailers, and then it came out and I just never played it. I don't know what the deal is with that. I did play the demo for it, and I thought it was quite good. A little bit clunky, but I'm not sure if that was just the room setup that I had with the PlayStation camera not properly detecting my movements. So that would probably be better now I've got the new game room. But yeah, I definitely want to give this one a shot at some point, and I don't imagine that it's like too long either, so I'd probably be able to do it in 1 or 2 sittings. So that's probably something that I'm going to do relatively soon before it gets too hot in the summer and I start sweating in the VR headset too much. The next section of the backlog is a little bit of a weird one, and it's one that you would only have if you were making like game-related content on YouTube. But these are the games that I've been meaning to make videos on for quite a while now because I've mentioned that I'm going to be covering them in previous videos. So the first example of this is Crash Bash for the PS1. I have obviously already played this. I've 100%ed it multiple times, or 200%ed it, as you can do in the game. But yeah, I actually really like this. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to save it for a video. But yeah, this is one that I mentioned I was going to be reviewing all the way back when I reviewed the original Crash Team Racing, which might have been something like 2 years ago at this point. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I did mention in that video that I was going to be covering this, and I've just not gotten around to it yet. So this is one that I definitely want to have reviewed relatively soon. I want to have completely cleared this review back catalogue by the end of the year at the latest, but it'll probably be sooner than that. So the first one is Crash Bash. This next game is probably the game that's been in my review backlog for the longest amount of time because I mentioned it at the end of my Bubble Bobble review, and that video is practically ancient now. I made that years ago, and that game is Bust-A-Move 2. Yeah, I mentioned this at the end of the Bubble Bobble review because it features the main characters from the Bubble Bobble series. Despite it being a completely different game, this is a puzzle game rather than being a platformer. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering this at some point soon. It could even be potentially one of the next videos I do because I actually feel like playing this. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. The last game in this review backlog section is Croc II for the PS1. At the end of my Croc video, I didn't specifically say that I was going to be covering this. I said I might do in the future. But I do want to play this. I feel like if I review Croc 1, I might as well review the sequel. I'm not going to go into any more detail into the series. It'll just be the 2 main PS1 games. There are a couple of portable ones, but they just don't look very interesting to me. So you could think of it as being a mini Croc 2-part marathon, I guess. But yeah, definitely want to cover this soon. This one's a bit of a longer game, so I'll probably prioritise doing the other two first. But yeah, I do definitely want to get around to doing this at some point because I've not played Croc 2 in years. And I think that about covers everything in my backlog. Obviously the last 3 games aren't really in my backlog because I've already played them, but I kind of have this like sub-area in my mind devoted to games that I want to make videos on. Obviously there are a lot more games that I want to make videos on, but I just wanted to focus on the ones that I've actually mentioned in previous videos for this video. So yeah, I think considering the amount of games I've got in the collection, the fact that there's such a small amount by comparison that I've not played is quite good because it means I'm getting through them at a steady rate. There's probably less than 5% of my entire collection that I've not played, but I definitely want to get that all the way to 0, to be honest. I want to have played every single game that I own, just because otherwise kind of what's the point in having them if I've got no intention of playing them. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you've got some sort of game backlog that you plan on tackling, and tell me what your approach is for tackling that as well. Like I said earlier, I think my plan is to start streaming more and playing a lot of these games on stream, because I feel like that'll motivate me to actually sit down and devote a lot of time to them. But yeah, let me know if you've got any other strategies that you plan on implementing to tackle your own. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this coming soon. And until next time, bye!